I think I found a new reason of why the government was gang stalking me. And I think this might be true for other people, is some of the victims of gang stalking are people who went through the MK Ultra program as children, who were taken by the military, or we were given by our parents to the military. They induced in us different personalities. They put us through satanic rituals, and one of our personalities is, one or more, is somehow useful to the military or the intelligence community. And when I started to get access to that, that's when they're like, okay, this therapy has to stop. His healing has to stop, because I have not yet, but I probably have a lot of government secrets in me which they don't want. And so what happened is, the harassment in my therapy groups and my 12-step groups increased. And I didn't say this earlier, but a lot of people go to 12-step meetings to get healing and to make it a safe place. But for me, there was some nice people, but those people were gang stalking me too. And to heal, to get better, you have to feel safe and you have to trust, especially going through all this stuff from childhood. But the 12-step meetings, they weren't really doing anything terrible, but they're playing mind games, and they're showing me that they knew what was going on in my life. They're making references, so I didn't feel safe there. So I think between 2008 and 2009, my healing efforts and the access to my other personalities, the rate really dropped, and I haven't really moved forward that much. And this is, I'm sure, with their plan of harassment. And a lot of ways I've just clammed up, because I've not known how to move forward with this till now, until hearing everybody's stories. And I've tried to hold on to my faith in a higher power. For me, that's God, the God of the Bible. That has helped me, although my faith sometimes feels very, very, very thin, like it's just a piece of thread. But so that's when it started. And so in terms of people participating, there was that. But when I started speaking out against the government, I started feeling tired all of a sudden in 2008. And I didn't know why. And it wasn't until I did some research, and the way I came about this gang stalking terminology, which opened up the whole, what to look for. I got that from a fellow member in the self-help group for childhood abuse, and she helped me with that, but she was a gang stalker too. But then I realized that the government microwaves people, and up until that I had no idea. That's why I was feeling tired. So from 2008 till maybe May of 2011, most of the electronic warfare for me in terms of microwaving was, they just blast me with stuff where I would feel tired, where I couldn't exercise much, in addition to having access to my thoughts with the chip in my head. So those were the two main forms of electronic warfare. Now, since May, they've increased their microwaving to now where it is focused. It's no longer just tired. I mean, it's painful now when they focus it. They focus the microwaves like a laser, they target my feet when I'm sleeping. They target my knees. They've targeted my genitals, my head, my eyes. And that's the part that trips me out, is because I understand that you can build microwave weapons, just a broad one. You just rent the house or the apartment, which I live in apartments, and you can just turn it in the general direction and try to blast them, which I think they were doing before. But the fact that they can target me so precisely is what trips me out. And my apartment complex, I live on the first floor, and below me is a parking garage. And sometimes I'm laying down, and they're targeting me from the parking garage. I can feel it coming from below, and that's what trips me out. Over like maybe 8 feet of concrete, they can target me with precision. I mean, this has got to be military grade stuff, and they're using it on civilians. So that has increased the electronic warfare compartment. With the chip in my head, they not only have access to my thought, but as you'll find on the web, they're always putting voices in my head. And I've just come to the part that I just ignore it. They tell me all kinds of stuff, how they're gonna harass me, how they're gonna do this and that, but I just try to pay no attention to it. So the electronic warfare has gone up. My car, I think they put gasoline in my car, my motor oil. I think they've messed with my transmission oil. Part of the people who gang stalk me has been the people NTB, where I went to get alignment. They screwed up my alignment at 2 different places, that all my tires are worn down. And I know this is not as bad as compared to other people, but it's just all the stuff adds up. And so I had to figure out how to align my own car, and sometimes I've had to change the oil every 2 weeks so my car won't just freeze. And then the other big component that they've stepped up is contaminating my food and drinks. They enter my apartment, there's no forced entry, so I know my apartment complex people are in it. At first they were just spitting in my food. I could taste it. And I have some sesame oil, and I know they spit in it because I put it in the refrigerator or the freezer, and I saw it, since they have different viscosities, I saw it separate, and I could see the spit. I even took pictures of it, and I might post them. But then after that, they not only started spitting, then they started putting dust. I used to have a water filter because Dallas water is so bad. I mean, they put this dust in my water filter that it's dusty after it comes out to the water filter. And so I would buy another one so they would get it. I was at the point of I was just taking the water filter around with me when I wasn't using it, and even when I was sleeping. So to get past that, they got in with my water apartment. They started contaminating the water coming through the tap, and sometimes it's oily, sometimes it's chemical, and they can't, a filter can't catch that. And so, and this is the strange thing about it, is lately they've been able to get to my food and my water filter when I was asleep. And so that makes me question, is my other personality, they have control over it, so I just give it to them because it wants it, and my other personality comes out when I'm sleeping, and so they get it? Or do they have some other technology? And I would have to classify these technologies as under fringe technologies like teleportation or invisibility. Is that how they do it? And I know that might sound nuts, but I might have to explain this a little bit more later. But I've seen another gang stalking website where this guy was talking about an invisible cloak that a Japanese private company developed. Now, if a Japanese private company can develop that, I mean, what could the U.S. government do? And then lastly, what I'd like to talk about is I think they have access to they have future knowledge of my actions, what I'll be doing in the future. And I saw this on another website where they talk about it having a hyper-dimensional aspect of this gang stalking, and that they just beat you to the punch. And the example that I have is that in terms of food contamination and drink contamination, it's not only my apartment. This gang stalking network for me is very large and vast, and when I go to fast food restaurant or any restaurant, they'll mess with my food. They'll spit in it, or they'll put dust in it, and so they have access to my thoughts. So if I'm planning to go somewhere, if I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna go to such and such place, they can call him ahead of time and say, all right, he's coming, get ready, this is what we're gonna do. But lately, I know that they have access to my thoughts, so I'll try to be as random as possible. So I'll just drive up to a restaurant, not having planned it. I go in there, and these guys, they'll look at each other, they'll look at me and smirk, like thinking, they're like, oh my God, he did show up. It's like somebody told them I was coming, and they were surprised, because I think they were like watching me also. They're monitoring me, and I had no thoughts of going to that place, and they were surprised that I was there. And then when I'm done with the food, I can taste that they spit in it or something like that. And so that's just one example. That's a little story about my life. It's a lot more jumbled than I thought it was. Maybe I should write it down. That might be a better medium. But I think I'm gonna do another one to get more into why I think this gang stalking is happening, at least to me. So, well, I wanted to say thanks to all the other victims who've had the courage to endure this, to tell their stories, to encourage others and myself, because honestly, if people were not posting their stuff and I was feeling crazy, I might have ended my own life. But knowing this, knowing that it's happening to other people has helped me. And I think we all know that one of the biggest things that they want is they want us to commit suicide. They want other people to think that we're crazy. But they're sort of stupidly, they've used this gang stalking tool so broadly now, and there's so many people stepping up and giving their stories that it's almost they've negated their hand on thinking that we're delusional, because there's just so many people they've done it to. But anyway, I know that this is an evil, and that I know that the government, I know that who's behind this is evil, but I was surprised to find that there's so many people who'd go along with it. They buy into the lies, and maybe they enjoy having power over one person. I'm just surprised that there's so many just regular citizens that'll take place in this evil. I don't know if they consider themselves more like a neighborhood watch after being told all kinds of horrible stuff about us. But I think there's a difference between the neighborhood watch versus using microwave weapons and all this other stuff. So I'm surprised how much evil that there is out there. But history is filled with evil people, evil events, and this is our flavor of it in our lifetime. But what helps me is my spirituality and all the other victims that are going through it, their efforts, their accounts. So I just hope that we'll not give up And I know that the government's been busted before, like MK Ultra and COINTELPRO. It's gonna be a matter of time before they get busted and justice will come. So I hope you won't give up. Take care. They put us through satanic rituals, and one of our personalities is, one or more, is somehow useful to the military or the intelligence community. And when I started to get access to that, that's when they're like, okay, this therapy has to stop. His healing has to stop, because those people were gang stalking me too. And to heal, to get better, you have to feel safe and you have to trust, especially going through all this stuff from childhood. But the 12-step meetings, they weren't really doing anything terrible, but they're playing mind games, and they're showing me that they knew what was going on in my life. They're making references, so I didn't feel safe there. So I think between 2008 and 2009, my healing effort, I have not yet, but I probably have a lot of government secrets in me which they don't want. And so what happened is, the harassment in my therapy groups and my 12-step groups increased. And I didn't say this earlier, but a lot of people go to 12-step meetings to get healing and to make it a safe place. But for me, there was some nice people, but for it's in my the access to my other personalities, the rate really dropped, and I haven't really moved forward that much. And this is, I'm sure, with their plan of harassment. And a lot of ways I've just clammed up, because I've not known how to move forward with this till now, until hearing everybody's stories. And I've tried to hold on to my, I think I found a new reason of why the government was gang stalking me. And I think this might be true for other people, is some of the victims of gang stalking are people who went through the MK Ultra program as children, were taken by the military, or we were given by our parents to the military. They induced in us different personalities.